Welcome to the exciting world of student conduct and intervention. In this video, I'm going to go over some things with you, some policy reviews, processes that my office goes through to decide cases, basically explaining how student conduct works and a little bit about our student care team. Now, before we go any further, I just want to let you know I will do my absolute level best not to use any slang or pop culture references. For most of you watching this, I know that I'm old enough to be your dad, and if I were to attempt to do so, it will come across as awkward and cringy as this, and I'm generally awkward and cringy enough as it is. That said, I'm also a big fan of memes, so we will see how well this goes. So some quick background. My name is Dave Hill. I've been here at UT Tyler for about 16 years. I am currently the Director of Student Conduct and Intervention. When I started, I was also over residence life. So I am the first person here with a background in student conduct. So I have seen the program kind of grow and develop for, like I said, almost 16, a little better than 16 years now. There are two of us in the office. There's me and there's Shane Justin Nuhiva, who's also our case manager. So if you come to us with a care case, you'll probably be talking with Shane Justin. If you come to us with a conduct case, you'll probably be talking with me. However, we've worked together on a lot of things, and there's some conduct cases that makes more sense for him to take, and some care cases it makes more sense for me to take. But this is just a little bit about kind of who I am and what you can expect in working with us. Now, this is probably the most important slide that we've got because it has all of our contact information. If you ever have questions, if you're not sure about a policy, you're not sure how a process will work, anything like that, please do not hesitate to contact us. The D Hill email is my direct email. The DOS email goes to the Dean of Students office. And if I'm not available, they can answer most questions as well. Our office is located in University Center 3320. That is above Chick-fil-A, and it is behind the ballroom. My direct phone number is the 70281. The Dean of Students number is the 5946. Our website is located at uttyler.edu/SCI. Most of the information I'm going to go over is available there. If you want more specific information about our policies and the conduct procedures, the Manual of Policy and Procedures for Student Affairs is available on the website. Just on the main website, do a search for MOPP, and on that page, look under Chapter 8, and that will have that should be able to answer almost any question you have about the conduct process. And I will preemptively apologize for how dry and boring it is. On the upside, you should only need to review it to answer your question. I'm stuck dealing with it for the remainder of my career. Now, if you ever get contacted from my office, it's going to be through your Patriots email. So if you are involved in an incident on campus where you're documented by university police, an academic case where a faculty member confronts you, or a residence life staff member confronts you for something that happens in the residence halls, be looking in your Patriots email. You'll get an email from us. You'll use your student ID to access the PDF of the email itself. Now, the email will have information about when and where we're going to meet. It'll have information about the meeting itself, what policy violations, if any, you're being charged with, and a brief summary of the incident itself. Now, there are two primary processes that we use to decide cases. That's the administrative meeting and the hearing. The administrative meeting is a very informal process, usually handled either with me or with Shane Justin. In either case, the student can bring witnesses or supporting information, and they can appeal the outcome. The vast majority of students go through the administrative meeting, where we will generally ask them a bunch of questions that all boil down to, please tell us what happened. The student can tell us their side of it, and in either case, either Shane or myself or the hearing officer in a full hearing has to show that it's more likely than not that the student committed an act that violates our policies. Now, with the hearing, the primary difference is that the hearing is a much more formal process. There are very specific deadlines and time frames. There's also a third party who runs the hearing and decides the case. So also the hearing is only available for cases involving suspension, removal from the university, suspension or expulsion, or academic cases where a student is facing a sanction that would have directly changed your grade. However, not all students who can have a hearing will actually choose to do so. In either case, like I said earlier, students can appeal the outcome to possibly get the sanction reduced or maybe overturned altogether. This is a written process decided by the Vice President for Student Affairs. If you ever do choose to do an appeal, our office is more than happy to review the appeal with you before you submit it. And in some cases, just assist you with the writing so that the appeal is as strong as possible when it's sent forward. Now, I will not be going over all the policies we have, but I am going to hit some of the ones that we encounter most commonly or that have the most questions about what all this entails with what all they entail. The alcohol policy is pretty straightforward. Students are not permitted to possess or consume alcohol on campus. Now, the primary exception is students who are 21 or over who live at Liberty Landing or Victory Village may possess and consume alcohol with some restrictions. Specifically, everyone assigned to the unit has to be 21 or over, or no one can have it at all. Also, the alcohol cannot be out if there are minors present. Now, residents are responsible for their guest behavior. So even if you don't have any alcohol in your room, if a guest brings some, you can be charged and found in violation. Now, students, again, residents are responsible for their apartments and their rooms. So if alcohol is present in the common area of the apartment, you can be charged and found responsible for it, even if it was one of your suite mates who brought it. Also, and related to that, if the alcohol is found in a common area that you have access to, you can be considered in possession and at least charged, even if it's not your apartment. So if you are visiting friends and you see there's alcohol out, you need to turn around and leave. A recurring theme in some of my meetings is a student will tell me, I had just gotten there and I was just about to leave, and that was when the police showed up. That is unfortunate. You can be cited with an MIP, and you can be required to go through our process as well. So if you get there and you see it and you know there's minors present, your best bet is to turn around and leave. Now, failure to comply, this is a policy that basically means you can be charged through the code of conduct for violating any of the policies on campus, even ones that are not specifically listed in Chapter 8 of the MOP. So, for example, IT has a policy against using our infrastructure and our equipment to illegally download copyrighted material. You can be charged through the code of conduct for that, even though it's not specifically in the code itself. The illegal drug policy is pretty straightforward. Possession or consumption of illegal drugs is prohibited. It can result in suspension. Be aware that the law has not caught up with technology yet. And we've seen cases where students had canisters of CBD or THC oil. And even though there was only one canister, and I was treating it as a case where it was just a personal use amount, the amount of THC was enough to make it a felony case. So do be aware of that. It is a very big risk if you bring things like that on campus. Now, harassment is conduct that interferes with someone's ability to participate in class or other university activities. It can be in person and face-to-face. It can be electronic through social media. Generally with this, the outcome is a written warning and a no contact order. However, if someone breaks a no contact order, we generally go directly to suspension. So it is something we do take very seriously. Also, some of our Title IX cases can be adjudicated through the harassment policy as well. Now, endangering behavior, that's any conduct that endangers someone's health or safety. It can include assault. It can include threats. So if there's a student and you are concerned that they are a threat to themselves or someone else, you can contact university police, you can contact your residence life staff, or you can contact the campus assessment response and evaluation team. That email address is shown here on this slide. Please let somebody know. And I'll talk more about the care team a little bit later in this video. Now, UT Tyler is a tobacco-free campus. That means tobacco is not permitted on campus. Smoking is not permitted on campus anywhere, including residential facilities, including parking lots in residential facilities, including cars in parking lots in residential facilities. Also, tobacco paraphernalia such as electronic cigarettes, hookahs, vaporizers, not permitted on campus, including residential facilities, including parking lots and residential facilities. I trust you see the progression here. Please just don't bring it on campus. Now, hazing is activities that subject a probationary member of a group to acts that are dangerous, harmful, or degrading. And it is prohibited in all cases, whether it's done with the victim's consent, whether it happens on campus, off campus. It is against the rules, and we will take it very seriously. Now, examples include, but are not limited to, physical assaults, physical harm such as branding, forced exercise or exertion, requiring prospective members to recite specific bits of trivia and making them do forced exercise if they get it wrong. Rating members of the organization based on their attractiveness or things like that. Forced service, any of these things can be considered hazing. Now, the person who does the hazing, who submits to it, and the organization itself are all subject to discipline. And if someone knowingly fails to report hazing, they can face discipline as well. So please be aware of this. Please do not do it, and please report it if it happens. Now, the conduct sanctions we have range from a warning to removal from the university. Warning is just what it sounds like. Official notice from the university, hey, this was against the rules, so please don't do it again. We can also do educational sanctions, such most commonly alcohol or drug education or reflective papers. Now, when you're on probation, disciplinary probation means that you are not in good standing with the university. You can still attend classes, you can still take part in most extracurriculars, but there are some scholarships you will not be eligible for if you're on probation. There are some student organizations you won't be eligible for, some programs such as some study abroads, whatnot. Be careful of the things you do. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about separation, which is either suspension or expulsion. Suspension means you will be allowed to return to the campus, usually after a year. Expulsion is a permanent separation from UT Tyler. Suspensions and expulsions are now noted on your transcript for the duration. So if you're expelled, that transcript will be there pretty much forever. Be careful. The things you do can have long-lasting consequences. Now, UT Tyler's honor code says that honor and integrity will not allow me to lie, cheat, or steal, nor to accept the actions of those who do. Academic dishonesty is generally handled by the faculty directly, but it is also part of the code of conduct. And so our office does work on a lot of these cases. It includes, but is not limited to, cheating, which is anything a student does that gives them an unfair advantage, especially against the rules. Plagiarism, which is submitting someone else's work and representing it as your own. And unauthorized collaboration, working together when it's not permitted. So some quick examples. If you give someone information about an upcoming exam, you can be considered cheating. We've seen cases where there's a comprehensive final. So throughout the semester, the student jots down questions that they can recall from the tests as they take them. And then they use that list of questions to study for and prepare for the final. In most cases, that's probably not going to be considered academic misconduct. In particular, if it's for that student's personal use, no one else is seeing it, and it's not distributed, it's most likely not going to be considered academic misconduct. However, if the student then gives that list, gives those questions to someone who is just starting the class, they've effectively given them what to expect specifically. They've basically given them the exam before the student has taken it. So if it's distributed, study guides can be considered, can be a form of academic misconduct. The more specific information you give someone about an exam, the greater the chance that it will be considered academic misconduct. So just be very, very careful about doing this. Now, question we get a lot is, can you get in trouble for helping someone? And it really kind of depends on the specifics. For example, one situation that we encounter a fair bit is someone comes up to you and says, gosh, I don't understand this assignment. I'm not getting it. It's not making any sense to me. And you, being a good friend, say, hey, no problem. I'm going to send you my copy of the assignment to show you how I did it. You can use that to learn how to do it and then do your own. I hope it helps. Well, then the friend winds up turning in your copy, but they put their name on it. And then you both wind up being charged with an academic misconduct violation. You are responsible for your work, and you can also be held responsible if someone else gets it. So be very careful. I would be very guarded about it. Do not distribute your work, because if someone else turns it in, then you can be held accountable for helping them in a way that's not permissible. Another thing that we encounter a fair bit is falsified forms. So if you turn in a falsified form like a class change form or a grade change request, you will face suspension for it. We've had cases where signatures were forged, where existing forms were digitally modified. These need to be addressed. These will be addressed very seriously. You do face suspension for it. Now, another issue that's come up is not complying with the directions on exams. So, for example, we've had cases where students were taking online courses and they're required to have the camera facing them, and the camera's facing a completely different direction. Or they are using their phones to look up information during the exam, or other people are present. You have to make sure you are following the directions, or it can be an automatic failing grade for the course, especially if it's on an exam. If you have a situation where you are completely unable to comply, for example, you're using ProctorU, which requires you to have a webcam, a camera that is facing you, and for whatever reason your device is only using the camera that faces away from you, and so you can't take the exam with it. Don't just sit down and take the exam. You've got to let your faculty member know exactly what's happening when it happens. Otherwise, all we can show is you started the exam the whole time not following the directions. Now, with plagiarism, a lot of the cases I get really involve students who I honestly think don't know how to cite properly. Unfortunately, all that we know when you turn the assignment in is that you presented someone else's work as your own. So make sure you're up to date on what citation format your instructor requires. And I always recommend to students, first time you do a paper in any class, schedule things out so that you finish it at least a week, preferably more, ahead of time. And then at least a week out, you can go to the writing center and have them review the paper with you. That way, they can point out any mistakes or citation issues, and that will at least take care of that issue on the front end. Now, sanctions that you can get for academic misconduct. A faculty member can do any of these. They can give you a warning. They can require you to redo the assignment. About 2/3 of the time you get a 0 on the assignment. About 1/3 of the time it's a failing grade in the course. It's usually one of those two. Now, if you contest it and it gets referred to my office, or the faculty member refers it directly to my office, if you're found responsible, you can face other sanctions as well. So one other thing I want to go over with everyone is just a little bit on making good decisions, or the wisdom of cutting one's losses. There comes a point, and I've seen it in so many of the cases that come to my office, that there's a point where the student involved really needs to look around and decide, you know what, this situation's spinning out of control. I need to cut my losses and start trying to fix this. This is also known as the first rule of holes, which is when you are in a hole, the very first thing you do is stop digging. We've had a lot of cases where the students had multiple opportunities to make the situation better, and because they were scared or because they didn't think they were going to get caught or whatever, they just made one choice after another that did nothing but make the situation worse. Please understand, we are not out to get you. My office is not out to get you. We want to see you be successful here, and we can't work with you if you're not willing to work with us. So I know that I'm asking a lot. I'm asking you to trust us. In particular, I will be asking you when you come into my office to trust me. We're going to listen to you. We are going to treat you with courtesy. We're going to treat you with dignity and with respect. If that is ever not the case, I want you to let us know. We will take what you have to tell us into account, but how you respond with the RAs, with university police, when you're in my office, sometimes how you respond can be the difference between being on probation or getting a warning and some additional sanctions, or being suspended or being put on probation. One of the things that we do take into account is how cooperative, how forthcoming. It's never too late to start doing the right thing, but the sooner you do, the better your process is going to go for you. If you are worried about your case, feel free to call us. We've been more than happy to meet with students before their actual meeting just to kind of go over how the process will go and answer any questions. Like I said earlier, we're not out to get you. We want to work with you. Please work with us, and please do so early. The sooner you start working with us, the better your case is. In all likelihood, the better that's going to make your case go. Now, the campus care team, as I mentioned before, this is the campus assessment response and evaluation team. This is a group of administrators who respond to students that are in some kind of distress or exhibiting disruptive or concerning behavior. May not necessarily be policy violations. So examples include someone who's making threats, or they're acting in a bizarre manner, or you've got someone in a working group that sends you an email and it's completely disjointed. Nothing makes sense. They're talking about things that are completely irrelevant and have nothing to do with what you asked them about. Or you'll have sudden changes in behavior, like someone who's really active and really, very, very, very engaged in a class suddenly stops attending altogether. Or people suddenly stop taking care of their appearance or their hygiene. Any of these, doesn't necessarily mean that something traumatic has happened, but they can be signs that there's some kind of distress going on. If you let us know, the care team can respond. A lot of the cases we have, it turns out the student was just having a bad day. But we've had a lot of cases where there's something really serious going on, and when we know about it, we can help. We can help the student. We can help them get resources on campus, but we can't help if we don't know. You can refer someone. We have this website has an online reporting form. You can send an email to the concerns at UT Tyler address. You can call this number, the Dean of Students office. The care team is made up of the Director of Academic Advising, the Director of Residence Life, myself, the Dean of Students, the Associate Dean of Students, the Director of the Student Counseling Center, and the Chief of the University Police. All of us meet, usually weekly, and any of these offices can help you file a care report. If you call us directly, we will probably still ask you to do the online form just so that we have a document in your words. You can upload supporting information with it. Also, when you send that report, it goes to all members of the care team at the same time. So I really appreciate your time. Again, here's all of our contact information. I hope you have a fantastic year, just a fantastic tenure here at UT Tyler. If there is ever anything I or my office can do for you, please let us know. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great rest of orientation.